Neil McGarry. Thank you. Katie's awesome, isn't she? She rocks. Yes, we're doing fags and hags. I'm either a fag or a hag. You can decide. Probably both. So, and Joey Callahan, awesome. Joey Callahan's my comedy coach. He's my Yoda. Okay? So, everything that I am today in comedy, attribute to him. And he's back there like, yeah, blame me. So, my name is Neil McGarry, and I've been doing some research on names, right? I found out that McGarry means manly. True story. And Neil means not. So, I'm not very manly. I always, when I was younger, I was kind of hoped I'd grow up to sound like Barry White. But instead, I kind of came out more like Betty White. Because what lad doesn't grow up to be a golden girl? It's everyone's dream. But, and like on the phone, they'll ask, like, they'll call me ma'am, or ask if I'm looking for my daddy. I don't have time for that shit, but I'm paying $3.99 a minute, alright? But I don't want to talk about that. So I gotta make a confession. I'm gonna be 40 this year. Twist that knife right on you. So, thank you. So, and one thing I learned about getting older is that your body starts to hurt in places it never hurt before. A couple months ago, I started having this pain kind of down here, sort of, which is distressing. And so I figure, what's it, hernia. It's got to be a hernia, right? Because that's kind of a getting older injury, right? And it's kind of an athletic sort of injury, and I'm kind of a sort of athlete. Like I play ultimate frisbee. Have you guys ever heard of it? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like football, except for sissies. It's for sissies, I live that, I own it. So I think it's a hernia, right? I got a hernia. So I go to the doctor, which is a big deal for me because I have serious doctor fear. And it doesn't matter what kind of doctor it is, like foot doctor, eye doctor, doctor of philosophy. I'm scared of them. Because when you go to the doctor, it's so invasive. I find it's really, embarrassing. Because they go and he's doing like open your mouth and say, oh, and he's back there with the tongue depressor, right? And he goes, wow, I'm really in here deep. You have a good gag reflex. Well, doctor, if I had a nickel for every time. Actually, I charged $3. So, and he's like, all right, well, I think I need to do a genital examination. And he's young and cute, right, this guy. So, there's a problem arising. So I'm like, oh, sorry, doctor. And he goes, huh? I would never have known. Okay. And he's like, well, now I need to do a rectal exam. I'm like, didn't you just? But I'm like, a rectal, down my throat, between my legs, up my ass, and I'm paying you? Jesus. So he gets done, finally, and he's like, I think I'd like you to have an ultrasound of your testicles. And I'm like, an ultrasound, isn't that what they give to pregnant women? Like, what the hell are you trying to find out? Boop. Boop. It's a boy. Or two. So I scheduled the ultrasound, right? And if you ever had an ultrasound, the mother said they take the area they're going to scan, they cover it with this clear jelly goo, right? And then they wand you. So I'm lying on the table with gooey balls. And the technician has got all the bedside manner of that murderer from The Silence of the Lambs. It lifts its scrotum above the towel. Or else it gets the goo again. So doctor gets the results, and he's like, well, Mr. McGarry, you don't have a hernia. You actually have a testicular infection. And I'm like, whoa, doctor, I'm in a monogamous long-term relationship. Like, how did I get an infection in my balls? Like, did I leave them out in the rain? Where's my balls on their table? I'm sorry. I'm always leaving those around. So he's like, oh, no. This kind of thing can happen even outside of sexual intercourse, you know, especially to someone your age. So, you know, basically, I'm like, it's all the downside of fucking a Broad Street hooker without even getting to punch her out at the end. And that is why I have doctor fear, alright? So, you know, before we go on, what do you think of this coat? I'm kind of digging it because it's got that padded shoulders thing, which is 80s. And you know I love it. Name an 80s band. Somebody. Throw it out.
Fuck the Seagulls. Alan.
Oh my gosh, I'm hearing all these things. I gotta tell you, one of my favorite 80s bands is Kajagoogoo. Remember they sang that song, Too Shy, 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 Shy? Okay, well, some of you were young. But anyway, they did have that song. One of my favorite bands from the 80s. And not because I like their music or that song, but because I kind of admire any band whose name is a sound that Gilbert Gottfried would make during an orgasm. Kajagoogoo! Can you just... And there's like a lot of bands like that. Oingo! Oingo! Chumbawamba! So I gotta like that. But my favorite 80s band of all time, the Go-Go's. I love them. I love like all their dysfunctions. I love each one of their drug addiction. You know, and like I just love their videos. Remember their videos? These great videos. The one where they're splashing in the fountain. The one where they're on the water skis. The one where Belinda Carlisle's jerking off one roadie while Kathy Valentine anally rapes another with a broom handle. Good times. That's why Rolling Stone called them America's sweethearts.